Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and before we begin, I have a few announcements to make. Firstly, this podcast isn't exactly solo anymore. Behind the scenes, there's a good bit that goes on, and there are times to where I slack with the podcast, I'll be honest. So, I've brought on Maria Moreno, aka Tipsy J Hearts, as a producer. She's going to be helping me out a lot with the planning process, with getting amazing guests, developing amazing topics, and helping this podcast grow. She's been very helpful to me this far, and I wanted her to be a major part of this podcast from this point forward. Secondly, this podcast isn't exactly solo anymore. I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but I'm not. Ladies and gentlemen, the Postmodern Art Podcast is now a part of the Apocalypse Podcast Network. The Apocalypse Podcast Network is a collective of amazing podcasters coming together at the end of the world, dedicated to supporting, promoting, and revolutionizing the podcast medium. The podcasts that are involved in this network are absolutely amazing, ones that I constantly listen to on a daily basis, like Stranger Than Christian, Apocalypse Now, Hot Goss with Trash Comedy, and so much more. I'm absolutely honored to be a part of the network, and I hope being a part of it helps the podcast and the network grow. If you want to help with the network growth, go to apocalypsepodcastnetwork.com to see all the amazing podcasts involved and to find your new favorite. Other than this one, of course. You can also help the network grow by joining the Apocalypse Podcast Network Discord server. You can join myself and several others that absolutely love the podcast all across the network, and you can sit down, chat, talk about what you love, and just have a good time. I even have my own dedicated chat room. So definitely discuss the podcast, talk about artists that you want to see, all sorts of stuff. This would be a great way for me to directly connect to you. Link will be in the description below. Now, shall we get on with the show? Good. Because today we have Jane Gumball, a prop and background character design lead at Spindlehorse Toons, with her own amazing comics out with Mystery Meat and Mismatched. No, I'm not repeating myself. Jane was a blast to have on the first time, so when she asked to be on the podcast again, I couldn't say no, and it was just as fun as I expected it. Be sure to support her in the links down below. Also, subscribe or follow whatever streaming platform you prefer. Merch will be available in the link below, and follow us on Twitter at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements. And who knows, maybe there might be some more ways for you guys to support me soon. You guys just definitely have to keep your eyes on Twitter just to see that. And now, before we hop into the conversation, here's a word from another stellar podcast from the Apocalypse Podcast Network.
The camera zooms in on me.
So we get some high-proof alcohol, we get gasoline, anything that says
what
fun.
makes our lives worth living is our mortality. If there were not mortality, we wouldn't be passionate.
Luckily for me, most of the beauty pageants that I've participated in don't.
I've done my fair share of blood, man.
I've always liked showing myself off naked.
Got up out of the seat, walked to me, and then slapped me.
Spontaneous conversation with people from around the world on Stranger Than Christian, available on your favorite podcast app and at strangerthanchristian.com.
And now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. You're muted up, Jane.
Oh, I'm so smart. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me on again, by the way.
Well, thank you for asking. You're literally the first person to ask, hey, can I come back? I'm like, yeah.
Well, I thought that it would be kind of fun to do like a then and now type episode, and
Exactly.
Also I like talking to you, so
Well, thank you.
I was like, I should ask Nathan what he thinks of that idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those I've always had, like, at least an idea of eventually bringing guests back on and such, but the fact that you just straight up asked me instead of the other way around, I'm like, well, I can't say no.
Oh, I hope I didn't corner you into that.
Nah, no, trust me, it's the way I set up guests or whatnot, there's not really a hurry up process. If I needed you the way, I'm sure you wouldn't have minded, but like, hey, I need to, do a little time or something like that. So
Yeah, no, okay, that's good to hear, because I didn't want it to be like, Nathan, it's time for my next episode.
No. If I didn't want you on, I wouldn't have asked you back on. So thank you for taking the time to sit down and chat again.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yes. By the way, I don't know if you necessarily notice on the back wall right here, just,
Oh, I see it. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
look, there it is. Oh, that touches me so much.
Hey,
Oh, my heart.
with how much I invested already with just that comic alone, I could not have that. It's a nice addition to the wall.
It does. I think that it makes it very fancy.
Mhm.
Spices it up a little bit.
There we go.
I still need to get mine. I'm a terrible mother. How have you been?
All sorts of busy and ups and downs, peaks and valleys.
Oh,
all
I
this kind of
feel
stuff.
that. I feel that.
I mean, you already knew how it was like not too long after the interview with COVID and all that crap, dealing with that. Yeah. I do actually have some good news.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the newest member of the Apocalypse Podcast Network.
Ooh, congratulations. I don't know what that is, but congratulations.
I joined the podcast network basically I'm with a group of other podcasts that will help promote my stuff, and I'll help promote their stuff, as well as like helping each other out with like growing together, community events and stuff, like basically growing not just by myself,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be good for you.
Yes. I mean, if nothing else, I want to make sure that, the purpose of this podcast is to create a platform. Well, a foundation that's shaky on one plank alone isn't going to work. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to hear. I hope that your channel grows more and more, because I think what you're doing is pretty cool, Nathan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah. I'm all dressed now.
There you go.
I've changed.
You've gone back with the retro look.
Yes. I love it.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm ready to start whatevs.
All right, Jane. You've already given the answer to the icebreaker question like usual, because believe it or not, you're the first person to be on here the second time ever. So I'll just go ahead and ask: do you have any strong art opinions that you think the world should know?
Yes. Stop drawing. That's it.
As much as I would
There's
love,
my strong art opinion.
as much as I would love for that to be the end of it, why can you try to elaborate on that? On why people should quote unquote stop drawing?
That was just kind of a goof answer, but I guess I can just sort of talk about. I've been chewing on something recently because a few weeks back on Twitter I asked what makes a self-made artist, and that's just been something that's been like bouncing around in my mind a little bit.
Right.
Because I've noticed there's like this attitude of like, oh, if you're not a self-taught artist, then you're not like a real artist, and it's just kind of like a ridiculous gatekeeping thing that I think.
Yeah.
I've been kind of like I've been kind of making a YouTube video out of it, but I don't have anything like super structured for it yet. But I guess I can just sort of brain dump here for you guys.
Wait, time out. Your YouTube videos have structure?
Well, no, okay, so
I'm sorry,
no,
go on.
oh man, I'm bad at YouTube videos. I still have to learn how to make them. But like, basically, just the kind of like false, like it's kind of a misnomer if you think about it, because being an artist pretty much depends on your own like artistic vision and drive to learn things. And I know that there's like an aspect of it that's like, did you have the privilege of going to an art college? Which I understand. I think it's cool when people like take initiative themselves and have their own resources. Like that's what I did for the most part. I took 1 year of animation class at like a community college.
Okay.
But I don't think like the reason I'm thinking about this is because I'm like, would me taking that class qualify as like I'm no longer a self-taught artist? I don't know. It gets the noggin jogging. It activates the almonds, you know?
Right, right. I get what you're talking about. It's like for a lot of people, at least trying to figure out like, is there really a line between like taught artists versus self-taught artists and stuff? And it's like at the end of the day, the root of the word should probably be the most important part: artist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it just feels like another way to be like, I don't know. It kind of
seems like a way just for people to feel like snooty about it. Just like, oh, I'm a self-taught artist and such. I learned how to sketch
when it's like everyone teaches themselves art to an extent, and like, exactly, it's that, like, the snooty gatekeeping type thing. Just in the way that I would feel like, what if someone was like, oh my god, you didn't go to art college? You're not a real artist. It's like, dude, doing art isn't like something that you're necessarily taught. It's something that you pick up and you love, you know? So it's just philosophy in the artist community. So
I mean, if I may say, I actually agree with you with that kind of thing. It's kind of one of those, like, why should there ever be a limit on, like, what a person is called when it comes to, like, certain kinds of art and such? At the end of the day, you're going for your passion, hopefully, but you're going for your passion more than anything else. Like, it doesn't matter if you taught yourself or if you learned from Picasso himself. Like, come on.
Yeah, and, like, let's say you were taught by Picasso to do art, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still might not be a good artist if you were taught by Picasso himself, or like Leonardo DiCaprio. That's not the one. That
Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo, the great philosopher.
Oh my God,
Leonardo
Nathan,
DiCaprio.
I exposed myself. I'm a fake artist. I'm gonna have to leave.
I just love how was it? I love how Leonardo DiCaprio did the Mona Rose instead of the Mona Lisa.
The Mona Titanic.
There you go, Mona Titanic.
There we go.
It's just the Mona Lisa, but instead the head is literally just the Titanic.
Beautiful. Draw me like one of your French girls.
Goodness.
But yeah, that's been something that's been kicking around a bit. So bring them.
I mean, it certainly is a good thought because, like I said, more than anything else, it's like, why are people so hung up on if people are taught a certain way or if they learn a certain way? At the end of the day, like I said, you're making art, you're making your passion. Just go forth and do it. You're hopefully doing stuff that will help better the world at the end of the day by bringing forth that creativity.
Exactly. So yeah, just a little food for thought.
There we go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that's a hill you're willing to die on.
Yeah, I think that people are capable of teaching themselves if they're passionate and they're driven. And if you went to art college, good for you. If you didn't go to art college, also good for you. You're both equally valid. And that's the hill I'm going to die on.
There we go. With that, I can't think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube or whatever streaming platform you prefer. Merch is available right now. Link is in the description below. Follow us on Twitter at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is a prop and character design lead at Spindlehorse Toons, whose comics Mystery Meat and characters like Cupid has created a bit of a cult following behind her. Welcome back to the podcast, product of necromancy, Jane Gumball. Welcome back, Jane.
Yay! Hello, it's a pleasure to be here, Nathan. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for taking the time once again to sit down and chat. I had such a blast with you last time. Whenever you straight up just asked me to come back on, I was like, there's no way, I can't say no. So
yeah, I bullied you into it. No, it was a pleasure to talk to you. That episode was like really fun, and I thought I'd ask you because some stuff has happened since that episode, and I thought it might be fun to just sort of do like an update kind of deal. So thank you for having me on again.
Well, no problem. And for those that are curious about all the stuff that I usually ask, I will link the previous episode with Jane in the description below so you can get caught up in case you don't know who Jane is for whatever reason. You should be listening to all my podcasts because they're all involving incredible people like Jane. But let's start with catching up with kind of the big thing that I wouldn't say ended up on, but the big thing we talked about in the last episode. And that was your comic Mismatched. Now, whenever you sat down, you already had it funded, but you didn't get the dub funded. Well, luckily, thanks to the wonderful people in the world out there that are huge Jane Gumball fans, you got it fully funded. You got the dub funded as well. I just have to ask, for you personally, what was kind of the reception like with the whole entire Kickstarter campaign and just, seeing it go to fruition like you had, made the stretch goals out to be?
Well, it was kind of shocking. I didn't exactly lowball it, but I made sure that okay, I can do this on $500. If I get $1,000, I'll put together a dub. Even though that's not a huge budget, I was able to put those funds to work in a meaningful way, and I'm really glad that it did because it was kind of it was a crazy experience. The past few months have been absolutely wild, and I'm I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about it.
Oh, I am all ears for it. I just wanted to start off, obviously, with like the comic itself. Wonderful, like you said, about 20 pages. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, wonderful, fun little story or whatnot. Was that a story you always had in mind, like one to tell, or was that something that you kind of developed as like you started the Kickstarter and stuff?
Well, I've had Cupid around forever, and I was like, I kind of want something tangible with him, so I decided to like write the story. I wrote the story and then I did the Kickstarter, because if it was the other way around, I would not have enough time to get things figured out and then like made. So like once I had it written down, and I had all the characters designed and stuff, and I had something to like present to people, that's when I asked for money, because before then it would just be like, haha, here's a vague idea, fund it. But yeah, I like having the story in place first, because that's like my insurance.
Right.
That's my like, if I'm dead creatively, I can just look at my stupid Google Doc and be like, yes, I did the brain work months ago. I don't have to rely on this poor little pea.
There you go.
So, yeah.
No, but like I said, like we talked about before, you know, you had it fully funded and everything. You got the comic available, which again I've read. Absolutely wonderful on your end. I must applaud you, like I usually do.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of those I want to, at least for you. What was? I think at least for me, people tend to really love it. Like I didn't see anything really negative about it. You know, it's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I don't. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say it's wonderful to see kind of just everyone just basically fawning over Cupid, you know, once again. So.
Oh yes, it's been it was received really well. I don't think I saw pretty much anything negative about it, and if anyone had anything negative to say, they kept it out of my DMs. So that's kind of nice.
That's a good thought.
But like, it's just a sweet little story, and the characters are fun. So I don't think like a negative reception would be expected. If there was one, I'd be like, what, the Winky? What did I do? But yeah, the reception was super great. I have a little Discord server now, and there's like a bunch of super nice people in there, and they've made their own little like of their own accord love bug sonas, and I love it. Like they'll make their little love bugs and like draw fan art of their bugs interacting with each other, and I'm like, this is adorable. I love this.
Oh, it's wonderful. I even had one made for me, which I did not expect. Shout out to Tipsy for that one.
Yeah, Tipsy.
Yes. Love her to death.
Tipsy is super sweet.
Oh, she is incredible. What was I gonna say? I even went forth and actually, for the first time, drew something. I drew a stick bug, except it's actually a stick. But
Nathan, you know what that makes you? That makes you a self-taught artist.
Ooh, actually, no.
Full circle.
Actually,
that's
time
the
out.
episode, everyone. Thanks for listening.
I was gonna say, actually, time out. I took art classes in high school, so I'm not self-taught. Sorry.
Oh.
Looks like I can't be part of this conversation anymore. All right, conversation over now.
Podcast over. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, the podcast is a fraud. No. But on top of that, so as we established, you got the funding for it. You put forth an incredible and touching story, if I do say so myself. But like you promised, when you hit that ultimate stretch goal, you were able to get a dub funded, which I can only imagine what the process of that must have been like. You know, just all sorts of different ways, especially with who you got casted for it and such. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh,
just the dub itself.
Yes, I'd love to. Okay, so when I hit $1,000, here are the thoughts that went through my head.
Okay.
Oh my God. And now I have to contact Brandon Rogers, because I have always seen Cupid sounding like him. Like, just the energy, the delivery of lines, very Brandon. So I was like, okay, all right, now I have to do the thing. And when I say years, I mean like, we're talking 2015, like back at the beginning of like when I first came up with him. So
okay.
it was just like kind of crazy to not only like reach out, but like he was enthusiastic about it and so sweet and fun to work with. I managed to get in touch with him. He was a little bit hard to get a hold of, but I do have multiple connections to him, so I had a few roots, and thankfully, it worked out, and I was like, yes. So that was crazy. He's just so sweet and so funny off the cuff, and it was perfect. So the other thought I had going through my head was, if he says no, then I'm going to have someone else be Cupid, and I'm going to be heartbroken, which I would have done anyways because it had gotten funded. But I'm just so glad that it worked out like that.
Oh, absolutely. I know, at least when I was doing my research last time for you, I had seen a video that you had posted about like the headcanon voices and stuff, and having Brandon Rogers as that voice. It wasn't the initial thought whenever I saw Cupid, but by God, that was a great pairing. That was a great casting. I'm glad he was down for it, because I know.
Yes.
I know based on other things I've seen before, he's definitely trying to get his name out there when it comes to voice acting and stuff. And obviously, as the iconic voice of
sure.
Blitz, like it was a match made in heaven, or just a perfect match, nevertheless. So
there we go. Yes. So I'm super glad that he agreed to it, and I had fun working with him. And if in the future I do more Cupid projects, which I'd love to do, I'm definitely going to reach out to him again. So, yeah.
I'll also go ahead and say, if you do decide to do future Cupid projects and involve a certain fool of sorts, I'd like to stick my foot down, although there's a whoopee cushion down here.
Oh my God, you didn't tell me Chester was going to be here.
Well, yes, indeed.
Guys, he's in the call with us. That's crazy.
There we go. Which, by the way, April Fool's comic was also really good. I really love that.
Oh, thank you.
But
oh man.
But on top of having like Brandon Rogers being obviously the titular Cupid, you also had some like really good names as well. I mean, you can't go wrong with Michael Kovac, although it's amazing his voice that he did for the scumbag. That was great.
Yes, totally. Michael's such a sweetie as well. He was very down to do it, and I was like, thank you. And he told me when we were recording that he had chosen a voice that was basically just his Shadow the Hedgehog voice, and I was like, oh my God. But yeah, Michael's a blast to work with. Such a sweetie pie, also hilarious. Just very friendly and great to work with. So much energy. I'm like shocked at how much energy that man has.
Oh yeah, no, I can only imagine. I mean, all the other voices that you had, the rest of the cast as well. You did great casting on your part. The one that surprised me the most was obviously, I guess, a rising voice actor in her own right. This one random person, was it Jane Gumball or some random person like that, voicing Fifi. I mean, I never would have expected it, but she really nailed that role.
Oh, well, she was kind of hard to get a hold of. She's kind of a pain in the ass to work with, but, at least she did a voice, I guess. But, yeah, so there's kind of a story behind that. I had, who I shall keep them anonymous, but I had someone else in mind for Fifi, and it got to the point where we were, like, recording for her, and the voice I had in mind did not match up with the voice that they were doing, and I was like, uh-oh. And luckily they were like super understanding. And I was like, hey, so I think I'm going to recast, but thank you for your time. And they're a close friend of mine, so we're all hunky-dory.
Right.
But I was like, all right, well, I don't want to look for a new actress. And since I'm a little freak, sometimes I'll talk like my characters to myself, which is like a totally normal human thing to do.
Right.
So I already had like a voice that's like, oh my God, wow. Like you just walk around the house and you chore it and you imagine little scenarios with the characters. And so I had one on hand and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I'm not a seasoned voice actress. I'm not super huge on it, but I was like, all right, I can do it, I suppose. But yeah, that's the story behind Fifi being myself.
I mean, if I do say so myself, seriously, like that was a really good performance. Even if this is like your first time doing something like that, like you nailed it. You got the energy and everything with it. So I applaud you once again for that one. So
yay, thank you. If and when I do more like audio projects with these characters, I plan to like get her an actual voice actress,
right?
Just to be like, yeah, because I'm not huge on that myself, but it was fun for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, if, at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun with it, that's all that really matters, right?
Exactly, and it's all a matter of like working with what you have. And I was like, well, thank God that I have a pair of vocal cords.
I was gonna say, thank God you have a voice.
Yes, there we go. I'm thankful for that. But yeah.
I mean, nevertheless, the dub turned out absolutely wonderful. Just the project as a whole was absolutely wonderful. How would you describe the entirety of that experience for you?
Fucking insane. I was not a person for like 3 months. I was just working on this project, and all of my spare time was dedicated to it, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just mostly now resting, which is, it feels nice, you know? I've just been in the meantime working on like Hell of a Boss stuff because managing props and character designs now has been like really good experience for me. And you know, so I'll just be designing in my not spare time, but like when I'm working, I'm designing. But it's not as intense as it was when it was just me pulling things together. And I have Tipsy to thank actually, because she helped me with cropping the panels for the comic, which took a lot off of my plate. And I'm super thankful for her. Super sweet and genuine. Love Tipsy. Oh, and I listened to your guys' episode. That was so sweet and thoughtful.
No, it's one of those. I mean, I immediately wanted to have her on because what was it, the concept of the Amateur April thing that I started off? That was my brother's idea, my older brother's idea. So it's like I'm thinking, okay, smaller artists that absolutely deserve it, give them the platform. Tipsy, come on.
Yeah. Yay, Tipsy. So. Oh God! Now that you've said that, I hope I'm not like taking up someone's space because I mean, unless you're like, wait, am I amateur? Which I wouldn't. I'd be like, well, okay.
No, don't worry. This episode's debuting in May, so don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. All right, we're very much in May. This is a day in May that we're recording this, and you're listening to it in May.
There we go.
Goodness.
Hey. Don't worry. But nevertheless, back to what I was saying. What was it? No, it's one of those I could like, especially with how much that she helped me out on top of, you know, you as well. Like, there was no way I couldn't have her on. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad that you got her on because it's also good to just hear about like other people's like dreams and ambitions and their projects. It's just nice to listen to, you know. Very inspiring.
That's the purpose of the podcast, just bringing on people and just have them talk about their passion, their inspiration, their love, all this, you know, all this good stuff. I'm trying to, you know, good vibes only here. Good vibes only.
Good vibes only.
There you go.
That's a shirt idea for your merch.
No, the next one I have to make is the words are wonderful one. So.
Very nice.
Yes. I'll tell you what, you kind of already touched on it, but I'll just go ahead and ask it because you were talking about now that you got, you know, Mismatch out of the way, your priority, at least somewhat at the moment, is, of course, your job, working at Spindlehorse and such. Mainly with, like I said at the intro, props and character design, background character. But the biggest one that people will know you for, and you actually even made a video on it, is designing the wonderful cheer-ups. How did, like, for those that haven't watched the video, for those that haven't watched your episode, or your video on YouTube, which they should, link is in the description, how did the process sort of come to be, and like what did you have to go through in order to kind of put the characters from, you know, thoughts in the cloud to actual animation?
Well, that whole process was a lot of fun. You know, designing stuff is my bread and butter. I was not really like new to the whole concept of like designing when Viv asked me to do it, but the only thing I really had under my belt was holidays, and I think that was enough of the like the chops, because you know Jingle's already got that sort of cherub aesthetic going on.
Yeah.
But like when Viv was like, "Yeah, I want some cutesy woo woo stuff," I was like, "I can do cutesy woo woo stuff. You got it." So it was just like it was this nice collaborative experience where like I'd sketch up ideas and I'd send them to her, and she'd like give me feedback. We're like, oh, I like this direction. Oh, I don't like this direction. Let's just do this instead. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's always rewarding seeing my characters moving on the screen. Like there's something just magical about that. So yeah, and I'm not to say they're mine per se. I only call them my cherubs because, you know, the design process, you put a lot of yourself into it, and a lot of your like loves and interests into the things that you create. But you know, that is to say they're like completely a collaboration, and that's how a lot of animation is. Like projects are big group projects. Well, it's in the projects, good God. But yeah, everyone contributes, and I think that the team did terrific with animating and the backgrounds and the cleanup and the compositing. Shout out to Sarah, my one and only. She made them look so good. So yeah, it's just crazy to like see them on screen and stuff. And I'm biased, but it's my favorite episode so far. But it might not be my favorite episode of the season. Wink, wonk. Wink, wink. But yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, cough, cough.
Wink, wink. But yeah, and there's a lot of fun stuff in store. I really can't wait for everyone to see what's been cooking up.
Oh, don't trust me. I'm sure you can agree that I'm one of the masses at this point that is absolutely anticipating what could potentially be next. You know, just the random thought process. But still, what was I gonna say? I mean, even then, I have to ask, like, with just how everyone was with those cheer-ups and whatnot, it must have at least blown your mind, not only to see them animated, but to see everyone just instantly fall in love with them.
Yeah, the response to them was pretty good. I didn't see a lot of negativity beyond, like, people being like, oh, but the episode didn't have enough seriousness in it. And it's just like, the episode well, number one, it was mostly written by Brandon, so there's your first giveaway that it's not going to be, like, super lore filled, or like apparently there's been a take floating around where it's like it's ruined heaven for like the world, but kind of like the imps, cherubs are like, you know, kind of different entities than the rest of heaven. So it's just like, well, you guys got to see like just this little bit of heaven, so
yeah,
it's not like the whole thing is given away at this point. So lots of fun stuff to come.
I mean, we haven't even seen the 200 eyeball freak yet, so I mean, there's plenty of stuff that can
You're
go
right. Where am I, Seraphim at?
There you go. Nice little shout out there. I guess I know you can't divulge too much, but I just have to ask, what should the people expect next when it comes to what you're working on? When it comes to Spindlehorse, I should say. My bad.
Well, they can anticipate a lot of mind-blowing stuff. I am watching the episodes be knit together in a little pipeline that we have, and it's crazy.
Oh, I can imagine.
You know, very bombastic, very, like, there's a lot of singing, so get excited. Get hype.
I was gonna say there's a lot of singing, so basically a Spindlehorse tune, because that's just part of the course.
Yeah, that's part of the deal.
Yeah, it's part of the thing that happens whenever you sign your soul away. You have to put a musical number to everything that you do in life.
Yeah, you actually, people don't know this, but you actually have to have a singing audition to get into hell.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In that case, I might end up in purgatory. So.
Where do good folks go when they die? Wait, no, it's bad folks. I don't remember that song very well.
Either way. Well, all right. Anyway. So you got Mismatch done. You're obviously working with Spindlehorse, but obviously behind Spindlehorse, you're starting to ramp up production on your bread and butter at this point. Well, a lot of people should know you for, and that's Mystery Meat. You've been teasing a little bit on your Patreon stuff, so.
Well, so with Mystery Meat, I'm trying to get the first book all produced, and so that I can take a big nap. That is my main goal, because I love this story so much. I'm trying, well, not trying, but I am going to be bringing on 2 other people to be helping me with just like extra steps in the production process, because with all the stuff that I have going on for myself and all of the what is that? Oh, I'm just tired. Like it'll be nice to have some help on hand to help with like basically formatting. Well, not formatting, but like I'm having someone take my thumbnails and they're going to turn them into just panels so that I can draw on them.
Okay.
And then I'm having someone do the flat colors, so that will save me a lot of time.
Good.
But I will be back on track with my old goal. Well, it was before I became the prop and character design lead for Spindle. But my old goal was like a 10 to 12 page chapter a month, and now that's just not doable, mostly because, again, tired, don't have time, and also I like drawing things for fun. So I'm gonna be ramping up to have a goal kind of like that again, and hopefully by the end of the year I will have all of book 1 completed, and I'm in the process of writing books 2 and 3. I may end up doing another sort of Kickstarter thing this year, but we'll see how that pans out.
Okay. I mean, if it's even remotely as successful as the Mismatched one, I mean, I don't see why you don't go forth and go for it. But I mean, still, you know, but I mean, still, the fact that, you know, you're getting back on track with that and you're bringing forth that content again, like, I'm already excited to see just the end of book 1. I didn't realize whenever I had my interview with you last time that there was supposed to be a 2 and 3 to go with it. That was something that flew over my head. So
well, the way I have it set up is that book 1 could just end and it could just be itself.
Right.
But I'd love to keep going because I did have it with the trilogy in mind, because I do love this story and the aesthetics and the characters a lot. So yeah, I want to keep going.
I mean, you absolutely should. I mean, it's a great, like I said before, the last podcast is a great story, great aesthetic, just, you know, and just a good story more than anything else that I'd love to see, you know, just how it plays out, considering what little we already have. Like, it's so little, but yet there's so much to sink your teeth into. I mean...
I see what you've done there. You've made a meat pun.
Yes.
I love that. But thank you. That means a lot to me. The hardest part about having a webcomic is reminding people that you have a webcomic, I've found. Because sometimes I myself will get distracted and then forget that, like, oh yeah, I have this thing if you want to read it, you know? So it's just a matter of like plugging stuff and, you know, keeping pages updated and fresh. And it's just kind of like, there's this fear that people will forget or that you'll forget yourself. And it's just, yeah, not super pleasant. But once it's all finished, then I'll have something that people can just like read through entirely, and that will be good. But yeah.
Oh no, I can totally get where you're coming from. Trust me, the hardest part about having a podcast is reminding people you have a podcast. So I kind of
you also gotta like balance it too, right? Like it's difficult on social media pages because on one hand you're a person and you don't want people to forget that, but you're also like, yes, I'm working on this thing, and you don't want to like come off like you're only just plugging that thing, you know? So it's this weird balance. So basically, my thesis is everyone should get off of social media. Let's burn the internet.
There you go. Everyone starts saying smoke signals again. That's how we get the word out about everything.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Hey, come over here. Come read my webcomic.
There's no social media, but there's webcomics still.
Yes. I'll start etching them into rocks that I find on my walks.
Just like pay for, what was it? Pay for like an airplane to do like the dragging the panels like behind it, like, you know, the messages.
Yeah. That would be kind of a flex.
That would be a flex. It really would. But like I feel like with how the panels would be, they'd have to be huge. So you would need like, I don't know, like a Boeing 737 or something like that, just to carry something that big so people can clearly see it.
See, if you want to flex even harder, here's the deal. You got to hire multiple airplanes. You know those old-fashioned, like, running, like, it's a wheel and you spin it and you see, like, a horse running in it or whatever?
Right.
You get one of those, like, you have that, but they're on banners behind these airplanes. And they fly after each other. So, if they move fast, then you have animation in the sky. So,
I was gonna say.
anyways, support my Kickstarter for that project specifically. I plan to put 10,000 airplanes in the sky so that you guys can see 10 seconds of animation.
Well, I was gonna say even harder flex with that one. You know the old like crop dusting airplanes and such, like you see on the fields with like the res. Do have like 20 of them differently with like different dyes of like the stuff to shoot out, and like have them go into formation to where they draw out the panel in the sky.
Wow, that would be ridiculous. I love this little. We're thinking big brain here. We're thinking like Elon Musk levels of innovation. Disney who?
Disney who? This is a Jane Gumball production.
Oh my god.
This is great. Oh, and I will say, I forgot to mention this beforehand, but on top of all the stuff going on, you have been actually a little bit more active with your YouTube channel, mainly because, hey, you finally got monetized on it now.
Yes, I did. Everyone go to my channel and give me money. Yeah. But yeah, I got monetized. So, sorry, you were going to ask a question, and I was totally going to go off on a tangent. I'm so sorry.
I mean, to be fair, I was probably going to be too far on what your tangent was going on. Yes, you're getting monetized now, so, like, I assume at the very least you're going to start putting up more videos, I guess. Like, maybe not, like, you know, rushing out more videos, but at least trying to make at least somewhat of an effort to put out more videos somewhat consistently.
Yeah, I would like to stay monetized if possible. So I've been putting up like a bunch of speed paints. I don't want to just flood my channel with speed paints because as cool as they are, I personally am not like a huge fan of just sitting down and watching someone draw. I know that that's other people's bread and butter, so that's why I kind of put it up. And it's not too hard to make content-wise for me because I can just upload it from Procreate, and it slaps some snappy music in there. But I have been working on like more quality stuff, sort of at the level of like the Cherub video where there's more editing and more like thought put into it. Like how I was talking about the self-taught artist thing, just kind of like taking some time to think about those kind of topics and just kind of start discussions. Again, it's not my main priority, so I can't invest too much time into it, but it's just something that I've been kind of doing on the side. And my next video is going to have like a little skit that my siblings and I put together.
Nice.
Very like, it's not by any means anything to write home about other than me and my siblings are being goofy in it. And it's very like Smosh era type nonsense. But yeah, I just was like, well, I would like to make this video interesting because I always default to just like, I'm going to sit in front of a camera and talk, and hopefully people like that. But one thing that I always run into is that when I don't have anyone to bounce off of, like speaking to a camera is so difficult. Like you can't really like put that inflection in there. You don't have someone to tell like what's going on. So you just kind of have to imagine, and like a lot of the times the audio ends up like I don't really sound confident, or I'll just like kind of be like, hello, yes, it is I, which that's not like a super accurate representation of how I am in real life. I just don't really know how to compose myself in front of a camera. So it's just like, this is another skill that I have to hone. So yeah, that's what my YouTube channel has been up to. So yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, if you definitely decide to keep going with these videos and stuff, I mean, I'm sure more practice with it will finally get you a lot more comfortable with what you want to put forth. I mean, even your idol, Brandon Rogers, didn't exactly start out making, you know, the highest of quality of stuff. He had to start out just making stuff and then develop those skills.
Exactly.
So
you just got to keep doing it. It's kind of the same. Like when I was starting to grow on Instagram, a lot of my posts were just like, whatever that I had to post that day. It was like a sketch, not like the most high quality stuff. And now I'm to a point where like I'm just tired and I just repost stuff that I've already put the hours into, and sometimes people are mean to me about it and I'm like, I can't give you a painting every week. Who do you think I am? But yeah, that's just what's up. So eventually I'll probably get more comfortable with expressing myself on camera. But in the meantime, I have a bunch of other stuff on my channel. Like I have a lot of music. I just put up the soundtrack video for Mismatched. and I, the speed paints are there. So if anyone's like interested in my actual like painting processes, I have some videos where I just talk about it, or I have videos where you don't have to listen to me ramble about it for like 10 minutes awkwardly. And yeah, I've got a lot of variety on my channel, so that's something that I'm pleased with.
I mean, you say it's rambling, but I mean, with your making comics video, you were multitasking with trying to do how not to do makeup and how to make a comic.
See, I like to experiment with my channel a little bit because, like, since I don't really have anything solid in the way of what goes on it, I'm kind of free to just like, I think I'm gonna make a makeup video. And then my friend roasted me for how I put on makeup, and I was like, be nice to me, I was talking about comics. But yeah, that video didn't like perform super well, which I wish that it had done a little bit better, because I know when I was younger, I would have loved that kind of thing, like just listening to someone who does the thing talk about the thing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay, because I have a few videos on my channel that have done pretty well, and like they'll recirculate in the algorithm eventually, and people will be able to see it. So I think I'm so tired of social media. I hate thinking about so stupid. I just want to make art.
There you go. No, trust me, I kind of get where you're coming from, but I mean, at the same time, you know, what was I gonna say? Oh, I mean, you were talking about, you know, wanting to hear people talk about, like, what they love. I mean, that's just what this podcast is, so there you go.
Exactly. And I love that. Like, I like listening to that you put out, because I discovered people, and it's just cool. Yeah. So, yeah, good work, Nathan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to say, hey, if you want to focus on talking skills, go ahead and make a podcast for yourself. I'll be competition. You watch your back. Not joking.
Okay. All right. See, I mean, don't get me started, because I'm the kind of person that'd be like, oh, you know what, I should try that. And then like 3 weeks in, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm spending so much time on this. And I've lost track of my other stuff. So maybe in the future.
I was going to say, what you need to do is have someone else that will do the podcast, record it, edit it, and then send it over to you for you to just plop it on the channel. That'd be the way to go about it for your case.
Oh, you're right. You know what, Nathan, I think that I should have other people do the work for me. I think you're so smart.
I mean, make sure
no more doing work.
Make sure they're compensated perfectly, but you know.
I have one pink starburst for each of you if you are good boys.
I have $3.
Oh man, but yeah, that's kind of why I like the fact that my channel's monetized now. If it gets to the point where like I'm consistently getting like an income of like just some extra money, I would put that those funds to like paying people, like Sammy, who edited my cherub video.
There you go.
I would love to compensate her and make it worth her time. But
I was saying also from the podcast standpoint, or at least just the standpoint of my videos or whatnot, if you want your videos to be successful, talk about Has Been Hotel, a Hell of a Boss, because those seem to do way well than anything else I do. I'm joking.
Oh man, well yeah, it's really crazy to see how popular both of them have been. Like, it's just really, really cool to see, and I'm glad that there's like a whole community around both of the properties.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I was gonna say, in fact, like I said, with my channel, my two most successful videos are the one I did with Silverhound and the one I did with Sarah Fisher. You know, Sarah. So
absolutely. Yours
actually not too long ago was like the 5th or 6th podcast that actually hit triple digits. It hit 100 not too long ago. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that the people get what they want. They hear from me.
Yes. They love what you have to say, God. Jane. They love what you have to say.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad that people have listened to it. I like talking about my own stuff more than I like talking about Helava and stuff, even though I love Helava a whole lot. It's just like, I like making things, and I just have a lot going on at all times because of that, so I like to be well-rounded.
Well, I mean, it's kind of one of with your stuff, like, obviously no offense to Spindlehorse, you definitely put a lot of time and effort into that, but there's a lot more time and effort and passion that you put into your own stuff. You want to make sure that that's the stuff that you want people to appreciate.
Yeah, for certain. because like there's this interesting thing that happens when it's like people know me a lot from Hell of a Boss, but whenever they come and see like my pages or whatever, I'd like them to have something that they can go and see. Oh, this is an individual with artistic tastes and aspirations, and so I like having Mystery Meat and Mismatch for people to just like come and see and be like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. I'm glad that I found this.
It's one of those, come for the Hell of a Boss stuff, stay for the incredible original content. So
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those with that. That was the last little question I had. I mean, we can keep talking about this, or again, this is no longer the Postmodern Art Podcast. This is the Jane Gumball podcast. Make it whatever you want to talk about.
So here we are. With, you were just telling me to start a podcast. Well, welcome everyone to the first episode of the Jane Gumball podcast. Mm-hmm. Today, I have here with me my guest Nathan Ragland.
Hi.
Everyone, round of applause for him! Yay! Rah rah sis boom ba. But yeah, I don't know. What would you like to talk about, Nathan?
Well, I mean, I figured since you're so passionate about art and such, I figured you'd have a couple of strong opinions, or at least something you'd like to talk about, whether it be just art in general or your own content, like what you would love to see, what you'd love to create.
Oh, well, okay. I could tell you a little bit about like Jane in 50 years from now, or like ideal Jane. If you want to hear about that a little bit.
I would be intrigued. Let's go. I'd like to hear about this.
All right. So if I were a rich man, I would be funding. I would definitely be trying to. Well, not trying. I would be putting out animation because animation is cool and it's a very cool medium and I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Comics are great, but since it's such a it's kind of a harder medium to consume for people, animation is more easy to consume. So I would love to get involved in that at some point when I have the means. I've been kind of like tinkering with the idea of like, well, let's say I did like a 3-minute animated short just to kind of like put on my training wheels and like test it out. Like I have a few things written out. I have a few options for if and when that happens. Okay. But that's just kind of like a longer term. Right now, I'm just kind of taking it easy and like enjoying my time at Spindlehorse and finishing my comic. Right. Because if I were to do anything animated, if I had the funds right now, I would want funds and then also Mystery Meat finished. I would want to have like an animated music video for Mystery Meat as sort of like a capstone for the first book. Because I have songs for the comic. All it would need is like just the lyrics spruced up. I would probably partner with like a music group to help me do the music because I like writing music. I don't have any means to like produce music on a high scale. So I would definitely partner with somebody. And I would figure out like a team and I would just dip my toesy woesies into an animation project because that sounds nearly doable now that I've done 2 dubs. I kind of have an idea of like what a production pipeline would kind of look like because something that I've thought about while doing the dubs is like it's easier to do this with the comics, but all it would take is a few extra steps to have this be like an animated type deal.
Right.
So that's just something that I think about sometimes. I would really like to bridge that gap at some point, hopefully within this year or the next, doing something of that scale because it sounds really fun and it's just something that I've always wanted to do. So
I mean, it would seem really fun. Sorry, I was gonna say it seems really fun, and what was I gonna say? Especially with the characters and the designs that you have going forth, I'd be interested to see like how they come to life more than anything else. And on top of that, I was gonna say when it comes to music, people like I've had several music people, big and small, on the podcast. I'm more than willing to throw a name or two in there if you need someone. Holiday Kiss, Very Much, Ace Smith. People like that who are like, if nothing else, like I'd love to give them an opportunity, and I'm sure that with depending on what vision you had in mind, they can mesh well with you.
Ooh, the Post Network podcast. I like that.
It's the Postmodern Art Productions.
I'd love to hear some. I'd love to sort of tinker with that idea a little bit. But another thing, let's say that goes really well. Okay. Hypothetically, let's say that video goes really well. I have a few other projects. Some of them are actually written. Like I just have them lying in Google Documents that kind of take place in the same sort of universe that Cupid lives in. And it's just sort of exploring other characters who inhabit that world. Because unfortunately, Cupid isn't the centerpiece of that universe, even if he thinks he is. He tries, but he's unfortunately very boring. He doesn't do much besides, like, he just kicks around his mansion and he thinks that he's, like, all that, but he's really not. It would be funny to see him have, like, a reality TV show, but that's not going to happen.
Oh, no, trust me. I got plans for, like, I know you were already talking about like your plans and stuff, but like it's not like you're not the only one with plans. I said it jokingly, but the Postmodern Art Productions, that'd be something I'd love to see the fruition one day. Just going forth, not only like producing, obviously this podcast, but like going out and like helping others produce their stuff. So like you're talking about animation stuff. Like if I could help find a way to produce that someday, I'd love to help because I know that you have the passion and love for it, and I'd love to see that to fruition. Tipsy with half of her stuff that she wants to do, I'd love to help produce some of that. And whether it be animation, filmmaking, music and stuff, I would love to find a way to one day just help people get that done.
Well, I think that that's super awesome. And you remind me of, I have a buddy, Ryan, who kind of talks about that kind of stuff. So I should probably get you guys in a group chat so you can chit chat about that sort of thing, because he also has similar passions with helping people produce things. Okay. I think you guys would hit it off. So hopefully.
I'm always down to meet new people. That's why I got a podcast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Tell me some more about what you think the future of the podcast would look like. Since you're my special guest on this episode.
I mean, for me, I would love to eventually get to the point to where like it wouldn't just be like, this little half of my room that I use recording it. Like I'd love to have like a full-on studio, like what was it, like like the stereotypical like round table or whatnot with the like the stuff on the wall. I would love to do that in a little bit more of a traditional sense where like, yes, there's the table with me and the guests, but like the walls surrounding us is all sorts of different art from all sorts of different guests that come on the podcast. Maybe even the thumbnails that people produce like for the podcast itself. Yeah, like just having
that would be fun.
Having that just like on display and stuff, like showcasing the art, like having people interested and that kind of stuff, like getting to sit down with like incredible people, both big and small, like whether it be as huge as like the dream guest, which is Tyler the Creator and Viv and like all sorts of other people, like those would be ideal guests, but also like smaller artists that I think deserve like the chance, like yourself. Oh, I say yourself, but I mean you're still you I
think I'm a little more well off than others. I think I'm doing fine.
Right. But
like, I definitely think there are some people who probably deserve more of a platform,
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those, at the end of the day, like, I would love to see a community more than anything else. Like, and that's just from the podcast aspect alone. Like, on top of that, like I said before, like, being able to produce stuff and all that jazz, that would be just, like, ideal more than anything else.
No, totally. Yeah, that would be really cool. And I hope to see your stuff grow more and more.
You know what? I really do appreciate that.
Grow like a weed. Just like me.
I wouldn't consider you a weed. I'd consider you at least... Well, actually, technically, it's silly, but like a dandelion. It's like... It's one of those, like, it's still amazing to look at, but we all know the implications behind it. I'm joking.
I've been compared to the titular VeggieTales character, the rumor weed, before, because my glasses. So that's kind of where that comment came from.
Okay, I have to ask this. Like, when did all this like jokes about your glasses and stuff? When did that come to be? How did that start?
See, I really do like the atmosphere within Spindlehorse, because people there are very friendly. It's nice, and sometimes when we're working, there will just be like jokes that come out of like, ahaha, this is kind of a funny, notable thing, or like we'll be watching something while we're working, and it's like some character with horn-rimmed glasses will be like, Jane, is that you? It's like that same sort of thing happens with my friend Sam. She gets compared to all the blonde characters, and that's just kind of an ongoing joke. So yeah, just stuff like that.
Or what was it like the internet going? I know it's not the same thing, but like the internet going crazy for one of the crew members that people thought was human angel dust for some reason.
Oh yeah, R2. God bless. So I was in charge of getting all of the characters and cameos in that scene there, actually, and it saved me time because like people would draw themselves and they'd get like a cool little crowd shot cameo.
Right.
And I remember R2 sent hers in, and she has a haircut that's similar. Like, I guess she interpreted it similar in the style to Angel Dust. And I remember Sky and I were like, oh, people are going to think this is Angel. And we were right. So yeah, I remember that.
So it's one of those, it was even like leading up to the thing, you guys kind of knew, oh, people are going to instantly make that connection. We just know it.
Yeah. I'm in that crowd shot too, actually. I'm on my phone.
Right. I think I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, is that towards the left of it? Left of flat? I could be wrong.
I think so. Yeah, I'm in the back. There's a bunch of crew members in there. And that's just something fun that like I get to help facilitate, is that like sometimes people will get cameos, and it's just kind of fun,
I always love seeing those like little mini cameos more than anything else, because like if nothing else, it just makes you kind of realize, this crew's all in on this thing. Like they love it just as much as we do.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's just like a fun, nice thing that we get to do sometimes. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine. Like, if this is what you're doing with an independent crew, I'd love to eventually see what you would do one day with, like, a more professional crew. Like, I wonder what the atmosphere would be like there, because I know from other experiences I've heard from, it could be hit or miss, so. Just...
like, in terms of, like, having a crew experience?
Yes, like, either working, like, with a more professional crew, or, like, I would eventually love to see what you could do with a full-on crew, like, making your own animation stuff. Like, I imagine, at least based on your experience and based on our conversations alone, it would just be a fun atmosphere more than anything else.
Well, with hope. Studios and crews on projects are all just made up of individuals, and it all depends on their individual needs and their individual, like, I want to make friends. I don't want to make friends. I just want to do the work and like see the thing come true. And so if there's a good mix of that, there's a good balance where people are doing their work and also having like those little bits of camaraderie. Then it's just like a nice, fun atmosphere, and that's nice. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it goes back to like my little crowd comment. Like, if people aren't having fun on the project, well, what's the point of being on the project?
Exactly. But like, on the other hand, it's like first and foremost, it's work.
Right.
But it is nice, kind of like, just having something where it's like, oh, we all mostly get along, and when we don't, it's not like too big of a deal,
Oh, yeah.
So it's a nice atmosphere.
I mean, to be fair, it's not at all near the same, but I kind of have that same mentality or whatnot whenever I'm at work and such, because like I'm working around like big equipment and all this different kind of stuff, and like, is it tedious and is it exhausting at times? Yes, absolutely. It's absolutely mentally draining. I'm currently on like a little mini grind right now with how much we've been working and everything with life going on. But at the same time, like, compared to some of the other jobs I've had, like, this is the most fun I've had with a job just about anywhere. We actually had a new guy in last night. I thought about this because he's a huge like has been Hell of a Boss fan as well. Like that, he's my first one I've seen the wild. But but like
I'll spot them sometimes. They'll be wearing their shirts and I'll go, I know what you like.
Again, it's one of those, I haven't seen it, but it's one of those, like, we were just talking about, like, stuff because I told him about the podcast because he was like, you have any hobbies and such? And I, like, you know, we eventually talked about, you know, what was it? Yeah, we talked about the fact that, you know, he liked Helva and Hasbin and all that stuff like that, but, like, it was his first day and he had never been stuff around, like, he'd never been in a warehouse like ours, and he was just, like, amazed with all the stuff more than anything else. So it's one of those, like, you know, I get where that comes from, where you guys are coming from with, like, you know, hey, it's a job at the end of the day and you have to get the job done, but it's not like you still can't enjoy it, because if you're not, it's not exactly like this, but if you can't at least enjoy your job, there's no point doing the job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're miserable, like, you probably shouldn't force yourself to, like, stay in one place, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who knew we'd be getting to workplace mentalities on this podcast?
Welcome to the Workplace Mentality Podcast.
All right, third different podcast. Okay, I need to have a different mentality, I guess. Goodness. Are you at least having fun? I guess that.
Here, right now?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself.
Good.
I like having fun to have conversations with, because you let me talk about myself forever and ever, and I love that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you're a very interesting person, if I do say so myself. So, I mean, just letting you go on and just ramble, go for it.
Well, thank you. I don't agree with that statement all the time. But I'm glad that you like speaking with artists and letting them do their thing. I think that's really neat. And, you know, like this, if you're going to include this in the podcast, that's fine. But you can edit it out because it's not like super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just speaking to you right now, personally.
Okay.
I think if you want to, like, find more, like, smaller guests, a great place to look is Instagram, because the artists on Instagram, definitely, like, I always see people with, like, aspirations on their posting, and they have all these fun characters and all these fun ideas. So that's a potential place.
Oh no, absolutely.
Just make sure they're adults.
Right, absolutely. That's number one. But what was I gonna say? It's not that I haven't thought about Instagram. I certainly have. It's just, for me, I've always had that mentality of, if I'm on Instagram, I feel like there's an obligation to always post, like, a picture and stuff. And, like, that's how I was beforehand. But now that I actually have a podcast to where I need to be posting stuff in order to get people interested, I just need to sit down and actually do it. Because, I mean, I know there's a good community on there. Obviously, a lot of you, like, I know about you from Twitter, but you're obviously spend a lot of time on Instagram. A lot of people know you probably more from Instagram more than anything else. So
yeah, that's where I mostly got my start. Like, that's where I started building up my own following.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty good to grow on. I don't trust it as a platform entirely, and it's dangerous for, like, burnout reasons. Like, I'm not about to sit here and be like, oh my god, Instagram is, like, the best platform ever. But, like, if, like, I know that there are communities of really passionate artists on there, and I don't talk to people a lot on social media, but I'll see people and I'll, like, give, like, the mutual nod of respect. Like, I'll pass by and be like, they're doing their thing. That's great. And I'll, like, leave a like. That's the extent of my social interaction these days online.
Is there any artists that you could think of off the top of your head that you always remember, like, oh, they post awesome art every single time?
There are a few that are coming to mind, but I can't, like, pick out a name. There is someone. Have you ever considered talking to someone about, like, plush making?
I'm always down to have people talk about, like, different forms of art. I had a wrestler on a couple weeks ago. I had them talk about the art of wrestling. So yeah, plush is definitely right up the alley.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I have a recommendation for you, actually. There's this girl who has her own, like, online store.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find her.
Say, while you do that, I'm gonna look.
Or I'm assuming she's going by she, her. It might be they, them, or he, him. Who knows? I might be oofing right now. Let's see. Biscuits X Monsters.
Biscuits X Monster. Got that written down. All right, I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, they have all these, like, super cute little plushes. They have, like, a little bit of their plushes that they saw, because they're all like individual characters, and it's just so neat because it's all just like it's very homemade type feel and very cute, and I love it a lot. So
nice.
I'd love to listen to an episode with them on.
Okay. I'll get onto it. I gotta get
So
started.
that's just
with
a
some guests.
recommendation.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's not the first time I've had people recommend me guests and such. One of the first episodes I had, a friend recommended me, and I was gonna say this past episode with a musician by the name of Ash Bricky was recommended to me by a different guest, Magpie. So yeah, it's not the first time a guest has been recommended to me. So
Yeah. But yeah, that's just some ideas for you. I'm sure you've got your own stuff going on, but
I mean, even then, I've always told people, you know, hey, if you have any guests that you want to like listen to and like learn more about them, bring them my way, because I'm more than willing to learn myself. Because there's a lot of people I follow a lot when it comes to art Twitter, but like even then, that's art Twitter. I don't know like Instagram, and like even then there's only so much I could see. There's only so much time I have to look at stuff. Like there's a plethora of different artists, so like if you have any recommendations, like, you know, Biscuits X Monster, I am more than willing to like look into it and like have them sit down and chat. Because I mean, if you're interested, why should I not be at least invested?
Yeah, totally. And I think it would help get you some variety on your podcast, and it would just be a good experience, and you get to meet cool people yet again. So
yeah,
there we go.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to ask you about this as well. I am part of your Patreon. How good do you think Patreon is? Because I've debated about having a Patreon for the podcast.
Oh, I straight up hate Patreon. I'm not gonna lie, I hate Patreon so much. It's very hard to grow on. You have to plug it. It always makes me feel like such a not a sellout, but I feel like Squidward and the cardboard box rattling the tin can, being like,
spare change.
That's exactly how it feels. And right now I'm using it as sort of like an art book type deal where people can see like the behind the scenes type stuff while I work on things. But it's a pain to, at least for what I do, because it would involve a lot of like planning ahead, and I'm the kind of person that like once I'm finished with something, I love to post it and just be done with it. Like I hate waiting to post things. So Patreon just kind of gets in the way. That being said, please please go to my Patreon. My Patreon is Jane Gumball. You can see all my art stuff there, because I realized that for what I do specifically, it would probably make more sense to like just have it be like a database of all the stuff that I haven't posted or won't be posting, and it kind of like is an exclusive little zoo of stuff that the average person will never see. You get to see exclusively. But I think for what you're doing, if you want to try it out, I would recommend having episodes up early for people. Or having like a database, not a database, maybe even like a Discord group of people, so that they can have like fancy roles and feel involved, because people want to feel involved in your stuff, right? People like feeling included. They like feeling engaged. So yeah, for what you're doing, I think that it could work. I've just not had a lot of luck with it personally. Who knows? You could probably take off with it, but I have not done very well on it personally, so I just don't like it.
Fair enough. I mean, I was going to say, I know for me, one of the things I've debated is obviously, like, you know, shout outs when it comes to, you know, video and audio versions of the podcast, like, you know, having that at some point, probably like at the tail end.
Oh, absolutely.
Another
Being
thing,
like, my sponsors, my patrons.
There you go. What was I gonna say? Another thing I've actually debated about was like bonus episodes, kind of just having like a 15-30 minute episode, like bringing a guest back and just talking about just something random, not even their art, but like, what was it? Ace Smith, one that I had a couple weeks back, like said it jokingly, but I would love to like sit down for 30 minutes and just talk about Tyler the Creator with him. Like that would be just something fun, like just as a little bonus episode.
Yeah, just like having little chit chats with people, because I think that your style of content is based a lot on like interaction with people and connecting. So I think that having a patron that's sort of like a Patreon that's structured around that would be really beneficial. One idea that I just had, and you can have it for free, you're welcome. You can have like a tier of people that like for people to ask questions, like you announce who your guest is going to be ahead of time. And so like if you guys have questions for them, and then like during the episode, ask those questions and give them a special shout out with that as that tier. So that's an idea that you could tinker with.
Oh, that's something I've also debated with as well. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's
I think people would be all over that.
It's one of those. I mean, I'm sure the masses will know soon enough if that becomes reality or not, because I'll be sure to plug it like crazy.
That's awesome. But yeah, go for it. If you want to play with that. I know that Ko-fi is kind of like beginning to become more of a competitor to Patreon, so you might want to look into that too, because I've historically done better with Ko-fi just because it's usually just one-time pledges than with Patreon, where it's like an reoccurring thing, because I think that a lot of people get kind of like put off by the like, oh, I have to have an annual thing, not annual, like a monthly thing. And it's just like another thing that adds to the bill, and or you could be like, Rattle's little tip jar, here's my Ko-fi, give me $5, and people would be like, all right, I can do $5, and boom. But yeah, also that's just been my experience with the money apps.
Oh no, fair enough. I totally get where you're coming from. Also, I just have to ask this: is it Ko-fi? I always saw, or is it? Yeah, is it Ko-fi? I always thought it was like coffee because it's a literal coffee mug to go with the.
Well, I always thought it was. I thought it was coffee at first, but I've heard people call it Ko-fi, and it just kind of stuck in my brain. So now it's Ko-fi to me. It might be coffee.
I'll say
Ko-fi. I'll be willing to take that L.
Ko-fi, coffee, whatever the company's called. Have a video to where you pronounce the name of your website.
Oh my gosh!
I am calling out coffee right now. They better respond. Like they're gonna. They
better respond. Or at least have like a section on your website where you say how to properly pronounce this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something maybe it's just very obvious, and I'm just like, I'm being special.
No,
I've always just I've heard it called Ko-fi, so that's what I've done since.
No, you want to say turn around and be like, guys, you guys have it all wrong. It's Ko-fi.
It's Ko-fi. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, there we go.
Also, if anyone wants to go to my Ko-fi, it's also Jane Gumball. Wink.
There we go. As a matter of fact, if you want to go ahead, we can go ahead and get to the plug your stuff down below if you want to.
Yes, I just did that because I'm a monster at this point. But yeah, I have some stuff. I have a Twitter and Instagram. I'm basically just Jane Gumball everywhere. Give me money. That's my thesis. Yeah.
There we go.
I just want to fund things. That's all. But yeah, thank you for having me on, Nathan. No, I super appreciate it.
No, absolutely. No, trust me. I'll go ahead and do the showering with praise because again, it's my podcast. Like I said before.
You.
Thank you. No, I was gonna say, like I said before, like the fact that you're the first person to even ask me to come back on the podcast, like I felt honored more than anything else because I'm glad to know. I'm glad to know that you had such a great time that you would be willing and wanting to come back. Because I had a blast with you last time. I had a blast with you this time. I just enjoyed talking with you. I just enjoyed chatting with you because I can tell the love and the passion, the creativity that you have for all these projects that you do, whether it's your own or helping out with someone else. Like I know there's a passion and love there, and I love how you just expel it whenever you get the opportunity to. So any chance I can to just hear about that, I'm more than willing to help out as much as possible. So thank you once again for taking time, sitting down, chatting. Man. I love it.
Oh, well, you know what, Nathan? I think that what you're doing is pretty cool. I think that you are very fun to talk to. I think that you're a great host, and I can't wait for you to get more guests and more awesome episodes out there so that people can hear you interview interesting people like myself. Faints on my nice little fancy couch. But yeah, I think what you're doing is great, and I think that you should keep it up.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. I really do. I was going to say, and I know you've already taken me up on this once, but if you ever want to just sit down and chat again, there's a spot open for you. Just be more than willing to ask.
Oh, I could be like the reoccurring character, and people are like, oh God, it's another Jane episode. She's going to come on here and ask to pledge to her Ko-fi again, her coffee. And we're going to be like, well, great. Man, but you're super sweet, Nathan, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about myself for an hour and a half, and also have a great conversation with someone who is so super friendly and such a great podcast host.
I'm honestly touched by that. Thank you. I really do appreciate
Aww.
that. Good vibes only.
Good vibes only. I'm about to introduce a bad vibe.
Oh no, you're about to introduce a bad vibe.
There it is. The bad vibe. We're gonna end this episode on bad vibes.
Oh,
bad vibes only.
I'm scared to ask.
Bad, nasty vibes. No, I have no idea. The only vibe that I was able to put out was just that. I have no idea off the top of my head. You've ruined my ability to be a bad vibe person. Can't believe this. Dreadful.
Good wins again in the end.
Oh, darn it. My plans have been thwarted.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
I think that's it. I think we're good.
Okay, then. With that, all I have left to say is hasta luego, mi amigos.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Apocalypse Podcast Network. For more great podcasts, go to apocalypsepodcastnetwork.com. And remember, every time you support one of our sponsors, you're supporting the podcast you just heard.